Saint Gregory the Great, a central figure of the medieval Western Church and one of the most admired popes in history. Saint Gregory, born in Rome about the year 540, was the son of Gordianus, a wealthy senator. Gregory was descended from Roman nobles with a strong legacy of Christian faith. He was related to two previous popes, Felix III and Agapetus I. Gregory's mother, Sylvia, left him to enter a small oratory near St. Paul's in Rome, where she led a life of such austerity and holiness. She was canonized by the Church after her death. His aunts were nuns, and his parents joined cloisters in their later years. Like most of the upper class of his time, he was well educated. But unlike many, he was generous and concerned about the poor. Gregory lived in Rome during a period of wars, invasions by hostile tribes, famine, and destruction. Rome was under siege by one barbarian conqueror after another. Within a period of less than 20 years, the suffering city was taken and retaken 6 times. The Lombards laid waste the cities, despoiled the towns and villages, burned the churches, tore down the monasteries, desolated the farms. Gregory received a classical education in liberal arts and the law. It is not surprising, therefore, with these sad memories never far from his mind, that he accepted the post of prefecture of Rome, the highest civil dignity in the city. He believed he could protect his people, like his ancestors before him. He was around 30 years old by now. He was responsible for finances, police, provisioning, and public works, an experience that helped him hone his administrative skills. The people came eventually to know and to love him, and to depend on him for their safety. Yet, Gregory remained dissatisfied. Sometime after working in the imperial capital, Gregory chose to leave the civil administration to become a monk during the rise of the Benedictine order. Upon his father's death in 574, he converted his house into a monastery and retired to a life of contemplation and prayer. During these years, the happiest in Gregory's life, he began a detailed study of the scriptures. He also founded 6 Benedictine monasteries on his estates in Sicily. He also turned over the remainder of his fortune for the care of the poor. But it soon became clear, after his 3rd year at St. Andrew's, that days of quiet prayer and work were not to be Gregory's portion for much longer. In 578, quite against his will, Pope Benedict I made him one of the 7 deacons of Rome. Now began his works, which earned him the title of being the Great. From Rome, he was sent to Constantinople to seek aid from the emperor for Rome's civic troubles, and to aid in resolving the Eastern Church's theological controversies. When he arrived back in Rome, he was made the abbot of St. Andrew's. He found Rome again beset with calamities. Floods and tempests battered it, and earthquakes rocked it. He was saddened to see that the evil had found its way into the monastery as well. One of the monks confessed, as he lay dying, that he had concealed in his bed 3 gold coins. This violation so shocked Gregory that he decided to punish the erring monk in such a way that the rest of the monastery would not forget. Gregory ordered the monk to be left to die alone. Gregory ordered his body thrown on a dung heap, along with the 3 coins. Then, later, in a change of heart, Gregory offered 30 masses for the deceased monk. On the 30th day, Brother Justus appeared to one of his brothers and told him that he was delivered from purgatory. The joy of the chastened monastery knew no bounds. And God was so pleased with the discipline and charity of his servant Gregory that we find the story preserved down to our own time. The well-known Gregorian Masses, said on 30 consecutive days for the repose of the souls of the loved ones for whom we continue to this day to request them. In 590, Pope Pelagius II died, and Gregory was proclaimed Pope by acclamation. This was not something Gregory wanted, but he accepted the burden nonetheless. Unwillingly, Gregory accepted the role. He was the first pope to call himself the servant of the servants of God. Gregory made clear he preferred the monastic life in a series of writings praising it. He emphasized the aspect of service to the poor for deacons. They were often tasked with giving alms to the poor, and at least one was assigned to each church and ordained for this purpose. Pope Gregory may have also established Cantus Planus, known in English as plain chant. Most today know this style of singing as Gregorian chant. The melodious, monophonic music is known throughout the church and closely associated with medieval monasteries. Gregorian chant gives us the oldest music we still have in the original form, some dating to the centuries just after the death of Gregory. It remains a matter of some dispute just how involved Pope Gregory was in the development of the style. Gregory was well known for his alms to the poor, and he gave quite generously of the riches donated to the church by the wealthy people of Rome. Everything from money to land was given to the poor in some fashion. He made clear to his subordinates that their duty was to relieve the distress faced by the poor. Any clergy who were unwilling to go into the streets and help the poor were replaced. Assets of the church were liquidated to provide income for alms. When a famine struck Rome in the 590s, Pope Gregory ordered the church to use its assets to feed the poor. Gregory himself refused to eat until his monks returned from their work of handing out food. He also made certain to dine with a dozen poor people at each meal. A deadly form of plague also started spreading in the streets of Rome. The corpses of the dead piled up in the streets. The dreaded disease always ended in a spasm of sneezing or yawning, and the Holy Pontiff ordered that "God bless you" should be said to those who sneeze. And the making of the sign of the cross on the mouths of those who yawn goes back to the days of Saint Gregory and the Roman plague. In 593, Saint Gregory wrote the 4 books of dialogues, which, together with the Pastoral Rule, were the 2 works most universally read and prized throughout the Middle Ages. The dialogues provide an excellent history of the times. Pope Gregory I combined pastoral leadership and prayer with personal holiness and social service. But his later years were troubled with poor health. He died on March 12, 604. He was canonized immediately after his death by the unanimous acclaim of his people. What really made Pope Gregory great? His achievements were many and had a widespread effect. But Gregory became a saint because of his love for God, which was reflected in all that he did. We celebrate Saint Gregory the Great's feast day on September 3rd. He is the patron saint of musicians, singers, students, and teachers.